It's all about these poor creatures, minks. Let's talk to Downton Abbey star, actor, but principally, in my mind, animal welfare campaigner Peter Egan. Good morning, Peter.
Hi, Kev. How are you?
I'm very well. You and I spoke the other day about this. I think this is just such a tragic and sad story. I didn't know mink farming was even going on anymore. I didn't know people were even wearing mink coats anymore. Turns out that business has been booming, particularly in Denmark, where there are these awful farms where these poor creatures are born and bred to be killed and turned into coats for preposterous people. And then suddenly, absolutely baselessly, they were blamed for spreading COVID, and that perhaps that their strain of COVID might affect our vaccine. So suddenly 17 million of these poor little animals were exterminated. If that is not the worst story you've ever heard in terms of animal cruelty, I don't know what is. What's going on? Did you know that mink? You probably did, but did you know mink farming was going on this scale?
Yes, I did. In fact, the 17 million in Denmark is only a small portion of in excess of 100 million that are killed worldwide every year for the the misfortune of being born with a wonderful coat like they have. Over 100 million are killed a year. They're killed generally after their first winter when their coats are at their best. So they're generally killed after about 7 months to a year old, having lived an awful life, which betrays all of the five freedoms that should apply to animals. They are killed by being gassed. Now, of course, mink are semi-aquatic, so they are used to holding their breath, being underwater. So it takes a long time for them to die. Some, it's been said, up to 20 minutes. So they are ingesting and breathing in carbon monoxide for that period of time. What it does is cook them from the inside, and their lungs bleed and burst. They are gassed because it protects their pelts. It's absolutely disgusting. They live in cages generally that are 2.5 feet wide by 1 foot long, 1 foot high, although you see two here on your screen in a cage double that size. They're also creatures that like to live an isolated life, so they don't tend to enjoy being in close proximity. No creature likes to be in this condition anyway. It's absolutely awful. We banned it, Kevin, fur farms in the UK in the year 2000. That's why we all probably thought that these fur
Yeah.
farms don't exist anywhere else in the world. But they proliferate throughout Europe and certainly in America.
Mm.
And I just can't understand how anyone could choose to wear the mink fur, knowing just how disgusting their poor lives are, how brutally they're treated, how they have no life at all. I mean, I was shocked last week to see one of the fur farmers declaring how much he loved his mink and crying about what was going on. And then it developed into the fact he actually didn't he loved eating them. And of course, he was so distressed because he was losing his source of income.
Yeah,
And
I'm just reading a quote from a farmer in Funen in Denmark who was ordered to put down 65,000 poor little minks. He said, "This is the end of our business with mink farming. We won't be able to start up again." Well, that's some good news anyway. What kind of moves are going on around the world to stop this disgusting trade?
well, I mean, there is a huge move in the UK. 80% of the UK are completely against importation of any fur product into the country. I mean, it's worth about £50 million at the moment, and 80% of us are against it. And eventually, the import of fur will be banned in the UK. There are huge charities throughout the world that are very aware of the intense cruelty that these poor creatures undergo in order to produce, a fur coat for someone who can afford to pay for it. So there is a lot of work going on worldwide to stop the terrible trade, and animal welfare charities are raising awareness about this all the time.
Now, Denmark is the world's biggest producer of minks via these awful farms. Spain, Sweden, Italy, and America also produce them, as does at the moment the Netherlands, Holland. But mink farming will be outlawed there by next spring, so that is some progress. To your knowledge, I mean, who still wears mink coats? I don't think people would dare to step onto the streets of London anymore wearing these the coats of death, would they?
Well, I think in places like China, where, as you know, a sign of wealth is that you eat more meat, and also they rather like sadly wearing fur coats in China. So I think the biggest market is in China, and that's of course in a country that doesn't have very high welfare standards, and the information about the cruelty is kept under wraps anyway. So people are very badly informed about it in China. I think if they were better informed, they would also join the campaign to end this cruelty.
I'm always surprised about how readily human beings are prepared to exterminate animals on a mass basis. I'll never forget 2002 when we in this country incinerated millions of poor farm animals because that man Neil Ferguson from Imperial College, the epidemiologist, said that we were going to get the worst foot and mouth crisis that we'd ever had. In fact, it was absolute nonsense. They didn't need to be killed, but Tony Blair was persuaded, well, we better kill every animal in sight just in case. So this mass cull of minks in Denmark plays into that, because it seems as if this alleged mutant coronavirus that minks carry was no threat to us whatsoever.
Yes, well, also bear in mind, Kevin, that in terms of mass slaughter, intensive animal agriculture kills in excess of 100 billion cattle per year just for humans to eat them. Also, 80% of all the world's antibiotics are purchased by the intensive animal agricultural companies and injected into the meat that people who eat meat eat. So this slaughter is going on daily. Every minute of every day of the year, there is a mass slaughter of poor animals that have, I believe, every right to live as much as we humans do. So it's really just a tip of the iceberg. The slaughter is happening around us all the time and is condoned by people who choose to either wear fur or leather or eat meat.
I mean, I absolutely take your point about animals being slaughtered for food. But if we could park that argument for the time being, how many other animals are specifically bred to be turned into clothes?
Foxes, wolves, any creature that produces a wonderful winter coat will be bred for someone to wear it.
What can we do in this country to try to... I mean, I think that the people of Britain, the people of the world, should rise up to at least do something about these minks, because they're specifically bred. They're born to die. They're born to be killed and turned into coats. It seems to me that if we have even any sort of pretense of decency as a species, we humans, we ought to rise up and stop this.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Humane Society International UK has an anti-fur campaign that runs all the time. Anyone who is interested in that just needs to Google Humane Society UK, and they can join a campaign, sign up to a campaign that will actually help shine a light on this and further bring focus to it.
Now, I gather that you were going to be involved in, or are involved in, some sort of vegan initiative, which has, of course, been affected by the coronavirus crisis, but is continuing via the magic of Zoom or something. Tell us about this.
Yes, I'm doing VegFest on Sunday. I'm just giving a talk about a question and answer about my involvement with my journey into being a plant-based diet.
Into, of course, becoming Egan the vegan.
Egan the vegan, that's right. So I'm going to talk about that for a bit. It's I hope it'll be interesting to people. It's VegFest and it's this Sunday.
Well, give us a little preview. Tell us about your journey into this. How long have you been a vegan?
I stopped eating meat entirely 11 years ago after I watched a film called Earthlings, which is a devastating documentary about intensive animal agriculture. I was so shocked by the cruelty and the means of slaughter that I couldn't speak for 3 hours after watching this film. And I determined then that I would never eat meat again, and I never have. And I have to say, I've never, ever missed it. I feel much better now for not eating meat. And then slowly over the next few years, I cut out various other things because I was so impacted by the meat industry. I didn't ever think that the fish industry was as bad or the dairy industry was as bad, but of course they're all terrible. So slowly over the next 3 years, I kind of cut them all out. And so I've been a vegan really officially with my commitment to Veganuary in 2015 into my 6th year officially, but probably it's about seven years really.
And what's your favorite vegan dish?
Oh God, there are so many, Kevin.
I've seen a few of your pictures of some of your food on Twitter. It always looks very tempting.
Well, I mean, I like Pan-Asian food, and the vegan sort of diet lends itself very nicely to that because there's lots of spices and lots of nice tastes and sauces. I very much like fresh vegetables, and I like fresh fruit. I like roasted vegetables with interesting kind of curry sauces or spices with them. I really like noodles. So there is so much good, interesting vegan food to actually just choose one or two. I haven't got a favorite. I just like eating as much fresh food as I can, and I like eating a variety of food. I like everything that isn't an animal product.
Okay, Peter, and your dogs, how many have you got at the moment? You've usually got about 12 or something.
I've got 5 now.
Are they on a vegan diet?
Yes, they are, yes. Yeah.
That's interesting. And just before you go, a little bit of showbiz. Are you up to anything now? Obviously, the showbiz industry is rather stilted at the moment due to the crisis.
I've been in lockdown down from everything since February. But the next year, thank goodness, Ricky's going to write another Afterlife. So we're going to do that next spring. I've just had a program out on Amazon Star or something, whatever it's called The Spanish Princess 2, which has gone very well, in which I play this bad-tempered general called General Howard, who was the father of the uncle of one of the wives of Henry VIII, which is a nice job too. That's running at the moment. So basically, no, I'm waiting to earn some money. Really.
I just want to do a quick shout out for a charity that we both, and Ricky Gervais, are both very much involved in, All Dogs Matter. Look them up, folks. And if you want to donate any money or perhaps give a rescue dog a home, All Dogs Matter, Google them. All the details are there. It's a fantastic charity, a great cause that Mr. Egan is a patron of, as am I, as is Ricky Gervais. Peter, thank you so much for your time. As always, stay safe.